accent made this.
Okay, welcome back into the YKTR Sports Show, Body Science Content Studio, joined as always, Skipper Scope. What's up, baby? The boss, Isaac John.
Hey, boss.
Skip,
Hey,
Dan Carter, Desi behind us as well.
Have a good show, Des.
Before we rip into the show, again, here's your 10-second window. We do it every week, and it's not hard. Like, comment, subscribe. Apple Podcasts, leave us a review. Support the boys, support the platform.
Get around the boys, fucking hell.
Get
Go
around the
treat
boys.
yourself. Scope Podcast. Go subscribe to that as well, just for a giggle.
Go do that too. And if you want to support the boys merch is live now on the new website, YKTRsports.com. That is
Grouse bird, baby.
Grouse birds. We got the hats. We got the must be nice stuff. It's still up there, so jump on, have a look.
And thanks for everyone that supported last night as well. Simmy's merch really flew, so you can see he's got a bit of a smile on his face. He was at work a lot earlier than he normally is, by 2 hours. So
And
thanks for everyone.
he even did me a favour. So he must be in a good mood.
Do you want to touch on that before we rip into the show?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you wearing his merch and supporting the boy?
Yeah, I am. I'm wearing his shirt from me. I was wearing a Wrench Stew shirt riding into work today. Yeah. If anyone's living in Sydney at the moment, the last couple of days, torrential rain. I'm that guy. I was stuck in, I was riding down the left lane. When I left Little Bay, it was like it is now. So it's fucking, there's no rain. The light was out. It looked nice. I got to about Maroubra Junction. Bang. It started like pouring down on me.
The heavens opened, yeah.
I was like, oh, I can't pull up here. The boys are going to laugh if I don't finish this off and get to work. Anyway, I got the big from the truck, big semi-trailer behind me.
Lowest demographic of people are riders.
Cyclists,
Cyclists, lowest demographic. Too fast for the footpath, too slow for the road. They don't belong anywhere.
Yeah.
And they
You
don't
pay enough rent. You don't pay enough rent.
They
You got to find a way. Find a way to pay rent. All right.
They got to pay to be on the road like the rest of us. Get the fuck off the road.
Do they pay tolls, Lukey? Cyclists?
Were you in the truck behind? Were you driving the truck behind me when you were beeping me?
Most people hate cyclists. It's just one of those things.
I'm telling you.
It's in the book of unwritten laws.
I'm telling you. I was in your position about 3 weeks ago.
Every cyclist.
I'm feeling the cyclist now. I feel like I'm a part of their gang. Cyclists, I'm with you, baby. I might even bring out some
Stop
cyclist
taking up
merch.
the whole road, and on Sunday morning, stop fucking filling up the whole cafe.
Cyclist merch coming in next drop.
Comment below. Are cyclists a plague on society or are they a gift like Scope?
I'm going to get hammered in
No
this
one,
one.
yeah, no
I
one
know.
likes cyclists.
Yeah, I know I'm going to get hammered in this one.
Nothing once they get off the bike. It's just when you're on the bike and they got the Lycra on.
Yeah.
That ain't it.
Have you seen the Inspired Unemployed Boys? Bro, they did the best one. It's fucking hilarious.
I just hate them when they jam up the cafe on a Sunday morning too with about
Yeah, that's
12
what I
of the
just
cunts.
said.
I'm like, did you even ride there? Fucking annoying guns. Anyway, let's rip in. We have 2.0 sports show. 5 of the best today, Scope. We're going to roll through all of these.
Lovely.
Week 1 of the trials is in the books as we kind of prepare for week 2. We haven't kind of got your boys' takes on those. Probably the most hype trials ever.
Yep.
Give me your thoughts on last week and who stood out to you, bro.
I love the fact that it gives the journeyman for this day and age, with the way that the trial systems are now televised, all the teams, you got to watch every single game throughout the weekend. And then the train and trial aspect of where they get 1,000 a week, it's obviously a massive benefit for the clubs. But if you're a squad member in that 30 to 35 range, this is the best time ever to be a player in that range. You get to show everyone on, like, everyone's watching it on TV. Most people got to watch the trials. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch all of them. We're at a wedding on the weekend, Ice. But for the ones that I watched, there was just some guys that really stood up. I don't take the trials too seriously. I know during my time, when I was in a bad team, I wanted to play better at Parramatta Eels because we needed to, and generally our whole squad played. And when we're at Manly,
Just trying to get through.
we're just trying to get through. We're trying to get through uninjured, and then a lot of our senior players. So I don't take too much out of the results. I'm more looking at a few individual players myself. What about you, Ice?
Yeah, loved it. Like I said, Fox Sports sort of taking on, like, televising it, had the big dogs there with
went
Benji
full
and
production.
Kronks. I like it. And you get to see, like, players that we normally see back in the day through 20s. You can see guns coming through, like your Benny Barbers, you used to really stand out, or guys like that. Sui Tonga Licky for a little 20s special. Omar Slime Ankle put on the back in his day.
Connie Harrell was unstoppable in 20s too.
And one of our favourite things altogether is watching young dudes come through.
Yeah,
and we like it across all different sports. So it's good to hear sort of names that we only hear through sub-medias, like your gurus, your roasties, your guys like that, bloke in the bar, where they shine light on these younger players as well and hear about them and see their highlights. But to see them in the full context of a game, it's a little bit different. And I'm like Scope, I don't buy too much into trials.
I do. I bought a lot into one particular trial, but the results not necessarily. I get what you're saying there, Scope. What about individual players who stood out to you? Was there anyone across the weekend as we kind of roll into week 2 of the trials that sort of maybe surprised you or certainly stepped up?
No, I've got a couple. I want to start off with an ex-teammate of mine, little Jaden Hodges up at the Cowboys. I thought the young gun Cowboys played really well against the Rabbitohs, even though the Rabbitohs had a heap out. Jaden Hodges was an ascending hooker coming through at my time, around my time at Manly, and then he did his knee a couple of times as we were speaking about Ice. The Panthers young guns, they really stood out. The Panthers and Dragons young guns for me. Maverick guys, obviously a big name. Isaac Tuggle.
They say Tago because
Tago, but it's Tango and
Tango, yep. Tongan, I believe. Ezra Mann and Selwyn Cobbo. Well, speaking about Ezra Mann, I don't think Ezra will start the year at 6. Well, there's a bit of news going around with Rank Diggity whether he starts as well, actually. But I just love the way he moves. The comparison that I give is the guy that was just there not long ago, and Anthony Milford. Like when he gets the ball,
things happen.
The ball seems to bounce from him. I know it was only a little scrappy try that he got, but the way he was able to pick it up, have a little jink, do a little show, he just moved really nicely for me. At 18 years old, I think he's a player to be really excited about for them. Selwyn Cobbo had some really nice touches to impress again from what he did in the Indigenous All-Star games. In the same game, I said to Ice a couple mornings ago, Toby Sexton, I found a bit of a comp for him. He reminds me of Jimmy Maloney.
Yeah.
He's not going to overcomplicate it.
That try he scored was very Jimmy Maloney.
Very Jimmy Maloney. Running off his forwards, nice little tip on. Jimmy can do that from 50 out and make a break.
And it was Katoni jamming in. He just fucking bit down and went for it anyway.
And he got a stay doozy tattoo on him as well. So
we love him, man.
Yeah, on his arm he got stay doozy. So we might get right behind him this year. Given that Munster treatment.
The sex, love it.
Yeah, we can pump up. We've got like 5 or 6 that we'll get behind.
We'll reveal him next week maybe. The 5 or 6 we're riding.
Another guy, same game, Tremutta Spry.
Yes.
Breaking down the left edge there, running away from Selwyn Cobbo. I love seeing Mutters on the wing just doing his best work.
Who can fly too.
There's a little bit of controversy. There's apparently a bit of a competition happening at the Dragons with Tyrell Sloan and Cody Ramsey. Tyrell Sloan won it for me. Yeah. Him and Talatau Amon for sure stood out for the Dragons for me. Had some really nice touches, combinations. I think we've spoken about it as well again. It's a healthy competition to have Tyrell Sloan having to compete for it with Cody Ramsey, but I thought Tyrell Sloan well and truly took that spot for the Dragons at number 1. Ice, what do you reckon?
Yeah, the one that stood out for me was Savage. I watched the first part of the game, obviously. Roosters fan now, so I wanted to get around behind the young blokes, and we're getting pumped 12-0 pretty early on. But he stood out. Like all good players, good things seem to happen around him, and he's sort of got that RTS sort of vibe where his step's probably not as strong, as sharp as Rogers, but he sort of steps into contact and looks for contact as well. So he was the one that really stood out for me. I'm with you. Obviously, we're biased on Sloan. He loves YKTR and we love him back. So, I think he should be the number 1, and sort of that forced competition is really good. Interesting one that's sort of coming up into this week is Scotty Drinkwater's been put back to the bench with Dearden starting at 6.
Up at the Cowboys, yeah.
And I'm a Scotty Drinkwater fan.
Yeah,
I love him too. So
is Scotty Drinkwater off to Redcliffe?
I hope so. We got no context there. For
a bit of context, anyone who gets dropped or any capacity, Isaac thinks they're going to Redcliffe.
Yeah. It's when you're playing Nuke and you've got a Jack there and you're a little bit cocky, you're going to be all right there. Yeah. I think in Redcliffe's the Jack for most player managers and players and 100%. Guns. I'd be doing the same.
Yeah, get to ace in the hole. Yeah,
and I've always been hot on him. I've always been hot on Scotty Drinkwater.
You have. For me, just quickly, Sloan as well was Sloan and Savage were the big sort of individual standouts. Obviously, I had my eye on one game in particular, the future grand final, when the Warriors did their thing. I thought Cody Nikorima was very strong.
Good.
It's sort of been
just had a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you said that upstairs, and it's sort of leapfrogged into this. He's been named alongside Johnson, which we'll get to. I think that means he's starting at 6 for the year for the Wires. But Trent Liero, we fucked up his last name last week.
Thanks for bringing that up.
But he was elite for Melbourne on that left edge.
So the male was good.
The male was good.
He
looks really good. Obviously, Cheese was dominant. Cheese and Walshy probably best on ground in that game. But Trent Liero for me was the one I walked away going, fuck, this guy is something. And the other one I walked away was Scope. Junior Ratuva.
Yeah,
I said it yesterday. I don't know if he can play footy.
Yeah.
But he's an athlete and a fucking half.
They always are.
He's the Warriors' big left winger. I know he's been named on an extended bench. It's going to be tough for him to beat my boy Mutters Montoya out. But he's a specimen.
Have you ever seen a winger that played on the left edge for the Warriors that wasn't a specimen?
He's every bit of 6'6", and he can fucking fly. So that's all I need to know. Got a mistake in him, which we don't mind at the Wires. But yeah, that was my big takeaways. What about any real
just
sort
quickly,
of...
That's a prerequisite, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to have a bit of rocks and diamonds in you for that left edge.
Just quietly, with Xavier Savage, obviously, Ice mentioned at the top. I've only seen a little bit from him. He not only looked good, he looks like a potential star. Like he could be anything. The way he moves around and the way
He's sort of in that Reece Walsh, Sammy Walker vein.
You just
marketable as well.
Marketable,
I think that's important for like Canberra. It's not an exciting place.
Yeah.
Like, you just hear Canberra and you feel like slack.
What's his? Continue. I want to find out a bit more about this kid. Yeah, carry on, Scope. Sorry.
In what way? What do you want to know?
He's a Queensland kid, isn't he?
Is he a Queensland kid?
Yeah, it's around 2021. Simi brought him onto our radar with the like being a sprint champion.
Yeah,
as we're getting it up.
Bit of a glamour.
Good sort.
And I see. What about so if he was the one that sort of stood out most to you? Obviously, the big question is Chance. Where do you put Chance if Savage is the one? If they're Redcliffe,
the centre, like utility between centre and Redcliffe, somewhere around there. No, I think he'd go into a great 14 because he can cover 1 to 6.
Yeah,
I don't think he could cover 7, like organising the team, but 1 to 6 he could cover, and 13.
Yeah, he's big boy now. Big through the hips, big through the legs, strong, understands football, puts himself in the right place. And when you're a fullback and you move into that 30, you see the game through different eyes. So you get another support player rolling through the middle as well. Yeah. And he could sort of like this is what they used to do in Queensland where Cooper Cronk used to jump on. So getting very technical, but instead of playing off like point, you play off the middle and you could have Jack Wyden and Savage on one side running block shape, and then you could go the two halves on the other side running Fogarty
the block shape.
Yeah.
Fogarty and him out the back. I don't think Fogarty's the type that's going to strip you off a beautiful pass, but you can play off the middle of the field and have two very genuine options both sides, and you don't lose too much respectfully.
Yeah, I love that.
I think the Canberras will go back to the power game. I reckon Chansey will find a spot in the centres, whether he pairs up with the skipper Croaks, whether his position is up for grabs. I love Matty Tomoko, like we talked about. I think they're going to play the power game. And you talked about Fogarty and Jack White, and they're more ball runners than they are throwing it around. So just get the big boys, Joseph Tarpanay, off the back of his Grouse Indigenous fucking MVP game, All-Star game.
It feels like he's got a big year in him.
But same setup, instead of rolling into block shapes, you just have your two halves, your two fullbacks sitting on the inside. So you could have Wyden taking on the line with a short ball there, but then you have his fullback running through there. What does that do, Scope? Gives you a one-on-one. Jack Wyden one-on-one. Fucking
Game
tough
over.
to... And same with Fogarty as well. You just have Chance on your inside there as well. So I'd love to see him in the 14 position where... Let the boys eat up all the front part of the game and all the fucking dirty shit, then let them come in and start throwing a bit more shape than they normally used to, because Canberra always play a power game.
Yeah. I think Chance could find himself centre or wing, because I think you have to play. Croker's going to be... Kotrick's back. Ruppen is going to be the other winger. I just think Tomoko maybe in that 14 role, Croker's got to start. It's going to be a tough one to balance. It's a good problem to have.
Imagine give you 1,000 variations of Chance at 14 and that'd be the go, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're Chance, you obviously talked about Redcliffe. He's a guy coming to his prime now, and we've talked about it again with Croaks. Imagine if you have Xavier Savage, you've talked about Kotrick and Raps on the wing, Tomoko and Chansey in the centres, with the power game in the forwards, and they're just coming. Imagine the yardage.
That's why I've always been hot on Canberra, man.
Imagine the first 3 carries coming out of yardage for that back 5. That'll be fucking outstanding. So he's got a. It's we always talk about healthy competition. It's a good decision for 6 to be having right now.
I'm hot on Canberra now. Like I said this, we had a show yesterday. It didn't quite work out, but respectfully apologise to the Canberra fans. I was bagging them. I was fucking they're done. But
I was with you, and now I'm getting swung around too. So Savage is a Cairns kid.
You're welcome, Raiders. I talked him into that.
Cairns. What do I say? Cairns kid. Sweet. Let's roll. Obviously, week 2 of the trials. I'll just quickly run through these ones. Obviously, a few big games, boys. We got Manly taking on your Canberra Raiders, Roosters, Tigers, Warriors, Titans, Penrith, Eels, Rabbitohs, Dragons, Cowboys, Broncos, Storm, Knights, and most sides have named more or less full-strength sides. The big one obviously standing out is Para, South and Dragons are rolling out kind of all their big guns. Is this typical of a last sort of week of trial?
Last hit out, they'll try to play anywhere between, depending on 60? The player, 40 to 60. If you're a proper starter, you'll play 60. If you're a star, you should probably play 40 or 50, like Manly did. Take them off at half-time with Turbo. I like the idea of, just quickly on that too, I heard Fozzie speak at half-time on Fox talking about that because they started so poorly last year, they wanted to make sure it's been a condensed preseason. They haven't really got the reps at training. So they wanted to play. All the players wanted to go out there and play, and I thought that should really set them up well.
It's refreshing,
Yeah, it is. It is. It's like, Desi thinks outside the box like that. So just another little thing that certain coaches have on others that are...
Oh, I made a statement about Manly last show, and I said, like, this is their time now or never. And someone pulled me up in the comments, go, "Oh, the younger guys are still there. They're going to be there for ages." And it's not so much about age, as more so I was looking towards salary cap as well.
Yeah.
So you got DCE, Tommy, and Jakey that'll take up most of the salary cap. Because they're such good players and they take everyone with them, if you think of it like that, all those guys' money is going up as well. So Ruben Garrick's going to be worth a little bit more money now. Schuster, Shabs, Subs. Who's
Shout out
Shabs?
Dice Digital.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go now. So it wasn't so much about like age, but it's more so all these guys are getting better. There's only so much room in the salary cap as well. So I think we think like that around here, YKTR Sports.
We do. Speaking of YKTR Sports, our favourite athlete, the Cheese. Latrell's obviously been given license to return a week early from the ban, arguing successfully that the All-Stars game should have counted against suspension, which we all fucking said. Common sense prevails there, Scope.
Yep.
Cheese and Walshy in the same boat. Are they a chance of getting off? Surely. If consistency's
I'd like to.
Yeah.
It's a very contentious
Friend of the
issue.
player, YKTR
friend of the player.
Sports.
We're obviously going to be really biased, but not even if he wasn't a YKTR Sports athlete and I didn't know Cheese, I want to see Cheese plays round one. And if we were robbed of it from seeing those three players in particular play in the Indigenous All-Stars game, selfishly, me loving the game like I did, because I'm not a South fan, I would have preferred Latrell to play in the Indigenous All-Star game. Yeah. Even though I'm New Zealand Māori, I wanted to see the best players playing in that game. But I'm happy for him that it's obviously counted and he's able to play. And then I guess it's different. That's a hard one, man. Like there's going to be pros and cons to it, no matter what side you're on. If you're so who are the Melbourne Storm playing? Fucking round one.
I'll have a look. Yeah, continue.
And the Warriors like
Is
that.
it Tigers?
It's NRLW. I'll get it up. Draw. There we go. But the thing with Walsh is his is a 2-game suspension, obviously one for the off-field and one for an on-field incident. So surely the on-field incident should...
Yeah, well then that makes sense for Walshy in particular.
You got obviously Souths have got Brisbane in that first game, which is what everyone wants to watch, and then Melbourne have got the Tigers Saturday.
Yep. Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. Respectfully.
What about you? Should it count for the other boys? If there is a loop, well, I shouldn't say loophole because they successfully argued it down. But if Latrell can get off, should Walsh and Cheese?
Yep.
Yeah.
Simple. Yep.
Yeah.
In my opinion, yep. Very biased. Friend of the player, YKTR Sports.
100%. All right. Second biggest question sort of coming out of the trials was again around Simi's Bulldogs. Hopefully we'll have a bit of news on Simi and the Bulldogs today as well, which would be a bit of a giggle for next week's show. But they kind of went out a little bit flat against Newey. The big question still, who's going to partner Burton in the halves? Scope, start with you on the Bulldogs trial form in totality, and then when you have a look at their halves, where would you be going?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I think Jake Avarello is clearly a spot. I've seen Trent Barrett come out, and he said he wasn't really happy with either half. They didn't come out and really stamp their authority because we've got a little bit of mail. Skip gets some mail going around.
Yeah,
apparently, Brendan Wakem was like genuinely competing for that spot. That's what we heard. So Avarello, for me, Avarillo is the choice. I thought they played all right considering because they had pretty much their entire left edge out. Matty Burton didn't play. Brent Nading you would expect to be playing left centre. Josh Adokar on the wing. A couple of guys that really stood out for me. Tavita Pangai Jr., he was carrying to hurt people, especially coming off that left edge, one off the ruck, close to the try line. He was looking to hurt and run over people. I love that. If you're a Bulldogs fan, you'd be stoked with that. I like the edge of that. It's like a no-nonsense edge led by my boy Aaron Shop.
We love
Shop. They're not going to really beat you with skill too much on that side. Jaden Ockenball played on the right wing. But the good thing is Duff does his best work coming left to right. So he can be that bit of a ball player that Avarillo probably maybe isn't.
Yeah,
which is okay because I think physically they're going to take you on the right edge where on the left there might be a little bit more finesse. But as a Bulldogs fan, I'll be pretty excited. The tradesmen like Knights, they probably should have done better considering some of the players that the Bulldogs had out and they were close to full strength for the Knights. So still, I'm pretty worried about the Knights and I like the way the Bulldogs played.
Yeah, we'll get to Newcastle, but just lastly on the Bulldogs ice, if you're having a look at the halves there, where would you like to see? Obviously, Burton's going to be the 6, but who's at 7?
I think Avarillo's the best player out of Avarillo, Wakem and Flanagan. Yeah. I think Wakem's a better half than Avarillo is in terms of actual position. Yeah. So I don't think he's a better player, but I think he's a better suited half. But like I said yesterday, I think Flanagan would, in my opinion, if you're trying to win for the first 5 or 6 games, I'd throw Flanagan in straight away. And I think a lot of their shape is going to be going left. We sort of talked about different systems where Trent Barrett loves to play a system where the half controls the middle and they have a fullback and a 5'8" on each side, very much like how Panthers play, very much how Manly played back in the day. And JT was the guy that started up in North Queensland as well. So John Cartwright put it down to Manly. Trent Barrett loved the system, took it over to Penrith. Penrith run a comp with that, but they don't have the Nathan Cleary to sort of organise and all the talent outside that as well. So I'd honestly go Flanagan, but I think Averillo gets the jump on it.
If Flanagan is named at 7, you still got
I don't think he will be.
Averillo?
Yeah.
14 or whatever. Yeah.
I think you just
Averillo's in your team.
There's just so many. You just hear so many good reports around them. Respectfully, I don't watch too much of the Bulldogs, but I'm interested in their game because they're going up against Sharks.
Yeah.
We had Matty Moreland in here last week, and we're talking about the game. It's on a Monday night too, so fuck all to do on a Monday. I'll be tuning into that.
Scope, I mentioned Flanagan there. Why were you so quick? Are you more high on Averillo than low on Flano, or why were you so quick
when you're in the outer, you just basically got no look in. Yeah. Gus can say whatever he wants, but when you're on the outer of the club, they'll be saying things behind the scenes, and when you're not wanted there, you get smoked out. And
if you're not wanted at the Bulldogs, like respectfully, what are Flanagan's options if he can't get a look in here?
I'd go overseas and follow the Jackson Hastings route and go. He'd probably put a clinic on over there, different competition, nice and structured.
Maybe come back more mature player, and
it'd be good for his confidence. He's like Blake Green was the same. He went over there and come back.
He reminds me of, remember how Daniel Mortimer was on his run in 09? It was kind of like pass and push. So like he'd pass and let the players do things, and he just kind of pushes up through the middle. So if you watch Kyle Flanagan play, he's not going to really dig into the line and strip here or throw that big cutout pass, but he's got enough awareness. He's always around.
Yeah.
He's good, like I said, passes and pushes up through the middle. And you look at a lot of his Roosters tries when he was having success, it was built off that. You get your ball to your good players and just roll through the middle and score some tries. Guy like Terry Lamb back in the day built a career off pushing up.
Yeah.
The bar.
Who's that?
Barber. Terry Lamb. That was his nickname.
Oh, all right.
You're going to be doing dog
no,
stuff.
I didn't know what you said, barber.
Benny?
Speaking of barbers, if you need a barber for your downstairs region, manscaped.com. The YKTR Sports Show is brought to you by Manscaped. Make sure you jump on there, chuck in the promo code ICE or Scope, SCOPE. It gets you 20% off. It gets you free shipping, gets you the performance package. Get around the boys, support the boys. Manscaped supporting YKTR Sports.
Fuck yeah, Manscaped.
Single now. Oh, yeah. Single now, Jack. Are you keeping it maintained down bottom?
I've been trying to get Lukey to get me my package, and he keeps dragging his bloody knuckles.
I thought you were going to say get Lukey to help you.
Well, we do live together now. We're getting closer, so who knows. Should we move on to KP? Kalyn Ponga?
Let's get to KP, man.
KP,
love us some KP here.
KP named the skipper of Newcastle earlier in the week. Obviously, a lot of media off the back of that saying it is what it is. Newcastle still going to struggle. The narrative around Newcastle this year, collectively, across most media outlets, is that they're going to struggle and KP is sort of their only hope. What did you make of him being appointed captain and Newcastle's sort of chances in 2022?
When you look at the roster, despite obviously trying to keep him, a big part of that would be trying to keep him, but like he's probably the decision for me anyway, regardless of if he was signed for 3 years or 1 year. When I'm looking at the roster, there's probably Daniel Saifidi, maybe is another guy that stands out, but with Jaden Brayley succumbing to injury, co-captain, he's probably the logical choice now. He's been around for a while. He's the franchise. He speaks well. He ticks all the boxes, and then obviously they're trying to fucking re-sign him, so that comes into it. That plays into it, but it'd be between me and him. I'd probably like, between me and him at KP and Daniel Saifidi, but I'd probably have Daniel Saifidi lead him out, and then KP just be that
on the field leader,
the vocal leader,
ghost captain.
Is that just not Gags and Gags?
I don't think that's Gags' go, to be fair.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just when you look at the roster, he's the most experienced player.
Yeah, Gags trying to fight everyone too. Every tackle, you're not allowed to tackle Gags.
That's true. What did you make of Ponga being named skipper?
Yeah, you kind of have to. I think he would leave, and if I was him and I was in his position, I'd probably leave. I'd be looking over the REDCLIFFE fence and seeing Wayne Bennett. I just don't think there's too much there for Kalyn to work with, and he's coming into like. I still associate him as a young gun, but he's starting to get like a little bit older. He'd be around 23, 24, 25.
Yeah. Closer to 23, I reckon.
You reckon?
Yeah, he's been around for a minute, man.
Yeah.
But he started 18. So
Kalyn Ponga is 23 years old.
There you
So
go.
he
he's still so
he's
young.
fucking a baby,
turns,
eh?
turns
Yeah.
24 the 30th of March.
So they reckon in that type of position, I've heard Joey talk about it with Hainsey, you don't get into your prime till you're 26, 27. You still understand your game. So he might stay on for Newcastle, but I don't think that he's going to be the next 10-year player unless they start recruiting really, really well.
Yeah.
How do you think the coach is going? Because he had massive raps on him pretty early on, obviously coming from the Melbourne system.
We come from two really good systems in Melbourne and the Roosters, so there was high expectations on him. He'd be stressing out a little bit. I think they need to find another star, and they need to find another star before the June. Is the deadline for his to
He's got
take
to
up
make
his
a
option?
decision.
by
I think it's
June
earlier.
30?
He's not
Is
June
it earlier,
30.
is
He's
it?
June something or other. But yeah, he's
Okay.
got to make a decision.
They needed fucking.
That needs to be done way before that.
They need to recruit something in the halves for him to
They
stay.
need to have
but
to-
there's nothing out there. What's out there?
Yeah, they need to half give him the fakey with the contract. Like, oh, just sign this. It's just for like a medical thing. And he signs and, haha, you're here for 5 years.
Yeah, you mentioned on the halves, the spine is kind of the biggest contention point. So you have a look at their options. Adam Clune, who I know we were pretty impressed with over the weekend.
he was
Had
nice.
Put a little clinic on. Clifford, Kurtman, Phoenix Crossland, Tex Hoy in sort of that 1-6 role, and Chris Randall, I think we all believe is going to be the 9. But Scope, how do you see the Newcastle spine shaping up? If you're trying to keep KP, how does it look?
Yeah, they've got to really simplify it. I think they're going to. I seen Jake Clifford talk after the game as well. He talked about just playing it simple, kicking well, not overcomplicating it, and then getting into the game. They did that. They got to a bit of a lead, but at the end of the day, if there's not much after that, teams are going to back themselves to fight their way out of it. So we're going to get to Scope Tears Me a little bit later on.
Yeah.
You'll get an indication where I think the Knights are going to be when you get to that.
Ice, how do the halves look for you? Or the spine, rather?
Who you going, Hooker? Who would you go?
I think Randall's going to start at 9 with Brayley out. And then
Yeah. Steady the ship up.
Clifford sounds like he's a lock at the
Clifford,
6.
Clifford goes 6. I'll go Clune at 7. And the reason why I like Clune, he's always got things happening in and around him. And sort of Normie gave a tip on him last year where he's got a touch background so he can zing the long ball. He can see that type of pass very clearly and knowing not the ability to pass it because he's got that, but knowing when to pass it as well. Two very different skill sets. And I think when all the eyes are on KP, I think the long ball over the top is going to be a really good option for him. They both play left side though. I've only ever seen him play left side. And Clifford plays left side as well. So Clifford's your big kicker. I thought he had a really good season. So yeah, I'd roll with that. And just hopefully Joey's got some few tricks up his sleeve to help those boys out.
Yeah, they don't jump. Respectfully, it doesn't jump off the paper when you have a look at their spine. But
When you got Jerome Hughes and Munster and Pappy fucking rolling through.
yeah, and
scary.
Scope, what about Kurt, man? Because I know he's a you're a big fan of Kurt, man. They rolled around that 13 role, which as soon as I saw it, it made sense to me. I was like, especially if they're lacking a bit of experience and class in the halves to play that linking role. He did get sort of physically maybe later in the game, he sort of started to struggle a little bit. But what do you make of Kurt Mann in that 13 role?
So that's the main thing that really stood out to me. Not struggle. I just thought physically I'd probably start Mitchy Barnett at lock. I like the aggression. We've talked about him before heaps of times on this show. He's one of our faves. He's got a bit of
screw loose too.
Yeah, he's got a bit of cunt about him.
Middle,
Yeah, you want that in your 13.
Yeah. He'll get the line speed going for the boys because we love the pack. Like, there's nothing wrong with the pack. You've got Frizz on the right edge. If Mitchy Barnett starts at lock, you potentially got Lachlan Fitzgibbon on the edge with Brody Jones. He played well for him last year as well.
Bradman, Bess, and Gagai, two
they're
all right.
The team's all right.
Brody Jones got the highest socks in the NRL too. He loves those things up around his knees.
David Beckham and Man U over the knees.
He's got he could have skinnier fucking calves than me.
He could, deceptive. He pulls them right up.
Oh, he's got the old Buzz Lightyear feature. But yeah, it's just, and this is respectfully to the boys that are playing in the halves. Out of pretty much every halves combination, they're the most unproven in the sense fucking individually, and then obviously as a collective, because fucking Randall was been the backup at Newcastle for a couple of years now. Clune was the backup at the Dragons, and Clifford was shipped off from the Cowboys. So that's just facts.
It's important how you roll collectively as the spine as well. And even if you got two very talented halves, but they're both pulling away from the ball and they don't flow, that doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
So you can cover up individually less talented spine by collectively working together. And I think that's really important.
I think before the year's out, Phoenix Crossland, this is just my opinion, we'll be wearing the 7. I really like Phoenix. I know most of what we've seen of him in the NRL was at 9, and he can play 9. He's just a bit of a jack in the box, but he was, I think, as rugby league gurus tattooed on my brain talking about him about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This kid coming through the ranks, and they were very, very high on him. Until you hear Joey say something about him, I'll reserve jumping on board, but I really like Phoenix Crossland. There's something about him.
Give us your Bradley Clyde. They actually don't.
Shout out Guru. Sweet. And just
He
before
does
we
a
move
very
on,
good Guru.
I do a good Guru.
Do
Yeah,
ya?
I do a good
Yeah.
Guru. He's one of my favorites, Guru.
Yeah.
He's got those nice little pauses in his
Yeah.
chat. Like
He
he'll be
does.
talking to be.
He does look up to. He goes, I really like fitness crossing.
That's what he does.
Yeah, it's just little subtle things,
Subtle
eh?
thing.
When-
He's
when-
one of the
if
best,
you're
yeah.
doing an impersonation, you've just got to be like, this is a nice little subtlety.
Don't overplay it.
Yeah.
Don't overplay it. That was
Yeah.
nice.
Thanks, man.
Shout out to Guru.
Shout out to Guru. Before we move off the captaincy thing, I just wanted to touch on the Tigers have rolled out 5 captains. So it's not a leadership group. It is 5 captains. The group is as follows. Or where are they? Dewey, Peachy, Tamo. I've lost it now.
Luke Brooks and Kim Mamalo.
Thank you, Isaac. The 5 captains versus 1. You're a former player, Skip. What do you make of that from the Tigers?
Just shows a little bit.
Just taking the left onto Struggle Street, haven't they?
Yeah. Again, there's no identity early on, really, with it. It's a leadership. It's a glorified leadership group,
I know.
obviously. So
I think the
but they've
language has just been used wrong,
They've maybe used the wrong language, or it's been reported the wrong way, I hope. But for me, Jimmy Tamo would probably stay captain for me. He'd lead the boys out. And Adam Dewey, I know he's coming back from an ACL injury, but he's the future.
He's the guy.
From Tiger
He's the
Town.
guy,
He
yeah.
was the one vocally leading the team around. Take the pressure away from Luke Brooks. He doesn't need this at the moment. He gets hammered enough as it is. Tyrone Peachy and Cam Marlowe both just rocked up in the last fucking 6 months. So I'm not too sure. Like,
And like
And
respectfully,
Peachy's there, the correct.
Peachy's very like off the cuff style football. Like I don't know if you really want that in your captain.
I also don't know. I mean, I can't speak for Peachy, but I can speak for Ken. Like, it's not like either of them have been established leaders in their previous teams or leadership groups. Ken was never in a leadership group that I know of. Forgive me if I'm wrong.
Must be that trillionaire thugs.
Yeah, he's coming.
Peachy's in
educated.
really good nick. He was another body shot that I watched fucking in the All Stars game. I thought,
looking
fuck,
fresh,
Peach was
yeah.
looking.
He's one of my favourite footy players, Peachy.
He's so nice, man. In the right, we've always said this. In the right system, imagine him at like in one of the better teams. If you could get him at fucking a little bit less. Melbourne or the Roosters coming on playing that 14 role, it'd be game over. But just in terms of, and this is no knock to him, just because he's rocked up in the last 6 months, and you brought up a great point.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen him in a leadership group anywhere else. I'm not too sure. Sometimes they keep those things in house, so he might have been.
And Nofalum is like the better winger.
Yeah, well, that was what Ice and I were saying. I want to get your take on that. Like,
If you know the Noff man, he's pretty cruisy though.
like, is it a slap in the face to a guy like Noff if Ken just rocks up and gets a captaincy?
There have been good players in the past that I've played with that were fucking probably the best players in our teams that like
Shouldn't be captain.
like I love the Prez, right? I love the Prez, and I hope one day, like he the transformation that he's had over this last 6 months.
Yeah,
but for me, Prez, he could be the best player in the team for fucking 15 years, and if he doesn't captain the squad,
He's all right.
He's a little bit ratsy. Like I don't think fucking it'll all bother him too much, but.
Normie's another one.
Normie, fuck.
Normie,
yeah, right next door to us. Like, those guys are just,
They're good.
they're well loved within the team as it is. And
Is that one the sort of category you put Noffa in?
and they can
Noffa's cruisy, bro.
they'll be
Yeah.
able to lead like, because we noticed that he's the best fucking outside back in the team. The young boys, whenever he says anything, the young boys will just listen anyway. He doesn't need to see, or he doesn't need that leadership tag. It's not for anyone. Like skipper in the SPC is a hard work, you know.
It was.
So
Yeah.
you
So
got
much
to
so
be.
you palmed it off. Ice, quickly, just before we move off the Tigers, what do you make of the 5 captains versus 1? If you put yourself back in player mode?
Don't like it. I know Melbourne done it back in the day where all the young guns were coming through and it was like Cam Smith, Cooper Cronk, and they all named 5 guys. And I remember seeing the photo and shit. But we're like, when shit goes wrong, you just want one person to look at. When everything's going chaotic, you just want that one person to look at. If you look at any of your successful teams, they've got that one guy they focus on. Yeah, this is our leader. We pay attention to what he says. We do whatever he says. I think it's important. Now you got the Tigers who've always got shit hanging around them. You know what I mean? They're that merger club. I know the Hello Sports call them like the dirty merger clubs and stuff like that. One thing you want to have rock solid is like, this is our coach. We stand by him. This is our captain. We're going to follow him. And this is the structures that we're going to stick to. And you look at him, you're like, is this coach under pressure already? He can't even name a captain.
He's deflecting,
Yeah, he's deflecting. So he wants to share this responsibility across.
Yeah.
Landed on James Tarmo's head because he's been there before. He knows
And
how
he
to
can
deal with
cop
this.
it.
He can cop it. He's chilled. He speaks well in the media. Adam Dewey's the future. So he's that vice captain. Keep it away from the other 3.
Do you like the idea of co-captains though? If you have a forward and backs leader, or would you prefer one?
Yeah, because he's going to be off the field. But what's the difference between co and vice? Like,
Yeah, same thing. Like that's what I mean. Like if you've got a guy like Jimmy Tomo, for instance, who's going to say all the right things, he's going to do all the right things at training, and he leads from the front. But
then
like,
once they cross the line,
once they get on the field, you want Dewey to be that fucking skipper where he's going, all right, fucking get to this point. Yeah. Jimmy's fucking, he's got 20 of the best off because he's fucking ripped in for the first 20. He's having a few Gatorades on the sideline, so Dewey's your leader on the field.
I saw a stat last year that a lot of time James Tomo would be on the field and then not get back on, so he'd do his like original stint. Don't quote me on this, but I remember seeing that somewhere, maybe 5 games where he'd do his opening stint and wouldn't get back on.
Yeah, it makes
which is weird.
It feels a little bit like the Tigers. If you imagine, it looks a bit Hail Mary-y. Looks a little bit like
who's your coach, who's your captain?
I like the way the Tigers are building for next year. I think it might be another tough year for this year.
Yeah.
Still.
All right, last one before we get into Scope Tiers, which I'm very much looking forward to. Skip, I want to touch on the latest player to be linked with Isaac Johns' REDCLIFFE Dolphins, Jackie Bird.
Yes.
So
Jeez, I've got some teams, haven't I?
You have. Reportedly, and this is just all reports at the moment, unable to come to terms on an extension with the Dragons. I don't know whether it's money or term of that extension or whatever side is arguing it, but he's the latest one to be linked with the Dolphins. Your thoughts on that?
Dragons have got to do everything they can to get this done. So obviously
keep Jack Bird.
There must be some middle ground that they've got to find. I just thought Jack Bird's a South Coast junior. He led pretty much every category for him in terms of I think he played all but 1 or 2 games, maybe from the suspension from the barbecue gate. He missed that game. He missed the game from the barbecue gate, and then I don't think he missed another game with injury, considering what he'd come back from. We know how beloved he is within the boys, how much he's respected across the game. I love the story of it too. I'm a bit of a sook for that, like how he fought his way back from what happened to him at the Broncos with those back-to-back injuries. People had given up on him. He seems to be in a really good place. He's settled down with his missus, everything off field. We know this. We know this through Normie that he's in a really good place. For me, and then just looking at the Dragons roster,
they're all right, eh?
They're all right. They're coming through. They've got some nice youngsters. They've got some good vets. I think Dragons could sneak up on a few teams this year. And just if you look back on it last year, apart from the barbecue gate, and I think
is that what it was called, the barbecue gate?
Barbecue gate, yeah. Big Vaughn.
He played 22 games last year, which is the most he's actually played in a season other than his debut year with Corella, where he did 26.
But yeah, for all those reasons, I think Dragons got to keep him. I think there must be a middle ground on that. There must be a pretty big number. That Riolo's going after. Dave Riolo was a manager of mine at one point. I know he'll be going after a pretty decent number, and Dragons are probably just trying to find middle ground. So I think Dragons got to find a way, and if they don't,
he's only 26, bro.
Yeah, REDCLIFFE will pick him up in an instant.
What do you make of the whole Jack Bird saga?
Saga.
I heard everything Scope said about the South Coast junior stuff, but when you've got those 3 young guns coming through, I think that narrative pushes more onto them.
Yeah.
I think if you've got no Dragons juniors there whatsoever, he's kind of more important to play that sort of role, but I don't think that's really the case now. If I was him, he's already won a comp. He's played in some pretty shitty sides. There's 2 ways that he can go. He could take less money and chase another ring. I think he strikes me as a guy that wants to win. You watch him on the field, he gets frustrated. He's always trying his ass off. No matter what position he plays, he's having an influence on the game no matter what. So I think he strikes me as the type of guy that does want to win, take less, go to a better team, or chase the money, train. 26 now, multiple injuries. You've probably got 4 or 5 more years in you left to set yourself up and your family. There's 2 different ways you can go. And I know a lot of footy fans won't like to hear that, but that's just an actual reality of someone that's had multiple injuries, been on a lot of money. I think you start looking at those things because those things matter.
What about Jack Bird in terms of on the field? Is he a centre? Is he a 13? Is he a 14? And at this current stage of his career moving forward, where would you play him?
Any of those, like I said,
just get him on the field.
You get him on the field and plug the spot where the ball's going to go. Yep. So you might want to be going through the middle. He might be a 13. I'd even like him to see maybe start heading in towards the back row because sometimes they're not always going to get the ball out there at centre. So you can still set up 2 tries and score one at centre and you're classed to have a good game. But him at back row, but eventually I want to see him in the 13.
I love him at 13. Yeah. Are we talking about a team, if he's going to take less and go down, a team like the Melbourne Storm, who are losing players, losing a lot of vets. If the Melbourne Storm come knocking for a guy like Birdie, because they're renowned for having the best systems in terms of recovery, injury prevention. You think of Cam Smith and fucking Cooper Cronk and Billy Slater. How many games that they not nutted out?
Slater was out for 2 years, but that was just shoulder.
That was in the death. That was the last 2 or 3 years. But if you got a guy like 26 and you know he's going to, like, there's so much upside with Jack Bird. In that system, I think he'd kill it, but that's another team that stands out for me.
Birdie and Prez cruising about together.
Yeah,
Deadly.
Like the two back rowers are going, you know what I mean? It's really good position there. And like Kenny Bromwich is in the big back row, but he's fucking so effective and everything he does slept on. And you see Jack Bird and kind of that, like he's not the biggest dude, but he's tough and got footy in him.
Strong.
Even
as
Cheese
fuck.
leaving in the 13 role. Cheese will play 13 and flying to looking, judging by that trial.
Ultimate Fox Sports rumour mill this morning, so
Ooh.
give it zero merit, but reportedly, allegedly, Bellamy and Melbourne are sniffing around KP as well for doing a little bit of a rug pull on REDCLIFFE. So
where would he go? Well, what pussy would he play?
I assume fullback, and I'd find somewhere for Pappy. I don't know. That's just I'm just throwing it out there because you mentioned Jack Bird going down there. Melbourne are currently sniffing around a few big dogs. I think with
Who reported this?
Do you know what I can see?
Who reported this? I want to know, seriously.
it's
It
Staff
matters.
Riders. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. This is no disrespect to you. Should we move on?
No,
Riders?
hey,
Unless someone puts their name to it.
gut feeling, KP ends up at the Roosters.
Fuck off. You just want everyone at the room.
Come on, man.
Nah, Kerry's a little bit older. He's got his best mate there. I don't know. I can just see it happening, bro. 5'8". He doesn't want to play fullback anymore.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? KP doesn't want to play fullback.
I reckon maybe he takes up a year option, honours the Newcastle deal, gets his money.
Boys,
Might have a word to Politis on
I'm
that.
hearing Manly. Hear me out.
Fozzie's almost done. Cheers is getting older.
Hey, what if we lose Reece Walsh? I wouldn't mind having a sniff myself.
All
All right.
Payne Haas and KP
To the Roosters.
to the Roosters.
There you go.
Get it there first.
All right, Scope. The floor is now yours. We've been waiting all show for this. It's time for Scope Tears Me.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Talk us through how this is going to work, and then
All right.
we'll let me and Isaac dissect where you're wrong.
So in the last 4 weeks, we've gone through the teams and we broke it down from 16 to 13, 12 to 9, 8 to 5 from last year, and we talked about how they can improve, who's the X factor, whatnot. So I put them down in tiers again. So they're going to be in brackets of 4. And this is called Scope Tears Me.
Love it.
Giggle. Straight off the bat. Giggle. All right? So the 16 to 13 is called Holy Moly. Plenty of holes in these teams.
Yeah.
And they are the Tigers, Cowboys, Knights and Warriors who drop out of their positions and they're into the bottom 4. Straight off the bat, boys. A couple of teams go up, but what do you think in the Knights and Warriors, Jacko, dropping into the bottom 4? Warriors fans, you're going to hate me. I'm just telling how it is,
Well,
man.
it's your list, so I'm going to throw it back to you. Why do you think the Warriors are going to finish worse? So they add Sean Johnson.
Yes.
They lose no one.
Yep.
Why do they
RTS.
lose RTS? Thank you.
Easy,
Why
he
do
goes
they,
all right.
why do they drop down in your estimation?
It's tough. I'm looking at the teams just on paper from where I see them, and so I have some teams progressing better than what I think. It's more an indication of teams that were in the bottom 4, like the Broncos, who have got in the next tier, going up. And Dragons, I think they're going to stay thereabouts, so close to making it last year. Bulldogs, they're another team that's jumped out of that top 4 off the back of their signings. So it's less about what the Warriors have done and more about what other teams have done.
Well, let me just say before I pass to Isaac, Tigers, I think, they're going to struggle. Cowboys, I agree. I think Newcastle will fall down there. You've got the Wires all wrong because no team with Reece Walsh.
Warriors
Sean
and Bulldogs
Johnson.
were my flip teams. I was struggling to decide on
Well,
that.
flip them, son. Ice.
But they're staying as per.
No, I like the Warriors. Obviously, Sean Johnson gives them a bit more direction. I think he's a lot more valuable than...
They're playing finals this year. Like we all know they're playing finals.
I reckon
this year.
they're a
Come on.
tenner. I reckon I'll put him about 10. If a healthy Sean Johnson, because the thing with Reece Walsh, and I watch him on the trials, good things always seem to happen around him, and good players do. So it just depends if he can distract themselves from all the sort of REDCLIFFE noise and stuff like that. But I think they look solid. I think they've got a really great pack. I think Shawnee Johnson is second chance of not at life, but in terms of a football career, he'd love to be back and want to do something great with them. And he's probably looking around and go, I probably won't get to play off another sort of Reece Walsh style fullback in a while. So he's coming towards the end. I think the Warriors bump up a little bit.
Out of all the
I
teams,
agree you're happy with Tigers, Cowboys, and Knights? Yeah. All right. Go on, Scott.
out of all the teams, I'm invested in them more. I hope I'm wrong in them, but
Yeah.
I'm generally not wrong.
Team do you hate? What team in the NRL do you hate the most?
Do I hate the most? As a player, I don't really hate any team anymore. Like when I
used to
played,
hate Melbourne.
I used to hate Melbourne. Definitely hated Melbourne. I used to hate the Tigers because I didn't like their style of footy. Like would
It was
play.
mad. They were the best.
Yeah, it's
frustrating.
from a spectator's point. Yeah, they just like would tip on and go sideways and fucking, like I didn't have that in my game, yeah? So it was more, I needed people to run it straight into me, give me the best opportunity to tackle. But yeah, I just thought they were a bit pretty at times and I
Did they ever sniff around an
didn't-
off-contract scope?
They did.
Yeah.
They did at one point after 2010. I give that a big straight away. So shout out to the 2011 Tigers.
They went all right too.
All right, the next tier is 12 to 9, and this is the changing of the guard tier for me. You got the teams like the Bulldogs, Dragons, who started to change the guard last year with some youngsters that they bring in. Raiders, they've got a very veteran-like team that they probably want to start blooding some young players this year. And the Broncos. And the Broncos was the hard one. I even had the Broncos potentially sneaking into the 8. But where do you stand on those 4 teams, boys? The Bulldogs and Broncos, they come down from the bottom 4. Dragons and Raiders, they stay as per.
I think the Warriors will end up in a better position than the Bulldogs and the Dragons.
Yeah,
And the Raiders go either way, but I think they're going to be okay. I've always been hot on the Raiders, but I think the Bulldogs are the shaky one, for me.
Yeah, I just don't think the Bulldogs get a whole lot better. I know they've added some star talent.
They're my swing team, man.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if they finish bottom 4 and the Warriors come up.
Yeah,
But I'm pretty confident in the other 3.
I don't know whether it's just Isaac whispering in my ear, but I'm getting every minute that passes, I'm getting higher on the Raiders. I think they're going up a tier.
my team, man.
I think they're in the 8.
I started this with you cunts. Don't fucking give it to Ice. I'm the one that was like, man.
I was off them. I
Yeah,
didn't even
you
know
two were
why.
off them fucking when we were doing the breakdown.
I'm saying they're top.
I'm
eight.
not
Yeah, but
good,
I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong, and
Yeah,
I think I've been
that's
wrong.
cool.
I was dead fucking wrong. Yeah.
And I'm never wrong. All right, so let's move on to the next one. We happy with that one?
Yep.
Yeah,
Anyone
that's
else
not
to
bad.
change?
Yep.
All right, the next one is cloudy with a chance of meatballs.
So
boys.
this is your 8 to 5.
This is 8 to 5, like bit of grey area,
Yeah.
bit cloudy. Like, are they really going to do anything? They're not really fucking going to win the comp, but finishing in the top 8 is not a bad fucking result for them. The Titans stay in there from last year. I think the Sharks jump into the top 8 from last year with the recruits that they've got. The Rabbitohs drop out of the top 4, and I've changed my mind on one team from yesterday, boys.
Yeah.
The Eels, as much as I want them to, because I'm a Eels great. I watched the Storm Geelong camp yesterday, and I wanted to run through a brick wall after Billy Slater spoke to the team. And I had this, and this is respectfully to the boys. Cheese, Munster, the boys, I know you love Skip.
I don't know, man. You're
They do
backstabbing yous on the body.
They love the Skip, so he's back in the top 4, boys. So
Good
the
boy.
Eels, so we've got the Sharks, Titans, Rabbitohs, and Eels. Cloudy with the chance of meatballs. I need to see it from the Eels. I hope the Eels go well this year, but I need to see it. I need to see them get into that top 4.
I don't see the Titans getting into the top 8 this year, respectfully. I love those dudes up there. Brimo, big fan. I love Toby Sexton. He's obviously the new YKTR sports halfback. With the
Stay doozy, B.
With the
Stay
Stay
doozy,
Doozy tattoo on there. Fucking send him some merch.
Yeah.
Um,
Campbell's all silk too.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the young spine, and I know you're excited about them, Scope. But yeah, I think if they get into the games with the big dogs, and I think Shawnee Johnson or Adam Reynolds, those guys you don't have in there, your Jack Whitens, I think those types of guys could suffocate them out of a game and wins.
Yeah, I like that. I've got 2 of those swaps. I think I'm with Ice on the Titans. I think they missed the 8. I think they regress a little bit just because of the ascension of, obviously I'm back in the wires to jump up, but all of a sudden in the last hour back in Canberra too. And I'm actually, I think the Sharks are a top 4 side. I think the Sharks are my big, it's not a smoky because everyone thinks the Sharks are going to be better this year.
Yeah.
But I think,
I
the
think a
Sharks
lot
are
of people have the
genuine
Sharks
top
in the
4
top
side.
6.
Yeah, so
Like
I really like them.
Wouldn't be surprised.
When we were talking to Matty Moreland last week, and obviously we got into talking like a really deep fucking footy, the structures that they got into place, and obviously they're going to bring him over from the Roosters, but it just sounds nice and
Yeah, it
basic
does.
and clear.
Yeah.
And what Matty Moreland said, he goes, respectfully to any of the other coaches, he goes, this is the first time I've been rocking up to training every day and learning something new.
Yeah.
And we're not just doing things for the sake of doing it. He just said Craig Fitzgibbon's just at that level where
He said they're all genuinely excited.
and even Wado. So Wado, if you know our boy Wado, he's not. I don't think he's the best trainer, according to everyone. Wonderfully talented, just an out and out
It's one of those
footballer.
guys gets the job done on the field.
Out and out footballer, but he's locked in with McInnes and Finucane as training partners, as weight partners.
Oh, fuck.
And you've got Wade Graham, who's already fucking one of the most talented back rowers as it is, and one of the highest league IQs in the game. Hang around with those two little.
Is there anyone that
nutcases.
trains
Those
harder,
fucking
harder than Finucane?
Nah.
McInnes might be.
McInnes,
McInnes
yeah.
might be it.
Yeah.
From fucking
McInnes.
some of the stories that I heard.
Apparently, McInnes got a screw loose.
Yeah, those
loves
two
it, and
are
then-
fucking weirdos in the best possible sense.
And then you've got Wado, who's talented, plugging into a bit of work ethic as well. So it's going to be scary.
Love that. Yeah, so that's the only one that I'd change Scope, but I don't mind that at all.
All right, Cloudy with a chance of meatballs is done. The last group and the top 4 group, I'm calling it Optimus Prime. From the fucking Transformers, these guys are ready to go.
They're in the
ready
window.
They're in the window. They're ready to win right now. They are the usual suspects. The Storm, the Roosters, the Manly Seagulls, and the Penny Panthers, who are the current champs. Boys, You like the top four? Anyone that you'd move in the top four? Big one, boys, we didn't really chat about it. Rabbitohs. I think they might start off a bit slowly, like I talked about on the show last week.
They've named...
I put them into the... I think they might start slow and come home strong, but for me, dropping out of the top four, Storm, Roosters and Manly, Panthers look a little bit more well-built for me all across the board.
I think we'll get a good read on Souths this week when they play the Dragons. So they've got...
I've never seen that half play.
Yeah, they've named him at 7, Lockie Elias.
Yep.
Lockie Elias, and then Taff at fullback, obviously, with Latrell serving suspension. So my top four is a little bit different. I think Para in there. I think Cronulla are in there. Penrith, and then Sharks or Warriors. Swap them out. That's for me.
So was the Roosters, man?
No, Roosters are in that. Cloudy with a chance of meatballs where I put the Roosters.
Yeah, no, they weren't.
No, you're off there, Jacko.
Yeah, we've always...
Clip it, Lukey.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think
Put it with the Bengals clip, please.
Yeah, no, I agree. 100% agree.
You like
that
those
top
ones?
four? Yeah, I don't see it changing too much. I think still Sharks are that sort of 5 side.
Yeah.
They're all those guys are in the window to win now, and obviously football's a long season and all the injuries and Origin and all that stuff that the Panthers are going to have to deal with. Defending champs, everyone gets up to play them. 4 or 5 of their guys are going to be in Origin, so I reckon they'll be like the 3rd, 4th side.
Yeah.
But a side like that, and they showed last year, they just need to be in it.
Are you confident Manly are still a top 4 side?
Actually,
Either
yes.
Manly, yeah.
Ceteris paribus, all other factors remain unchanged. A little economics term for you guys. If Tommy stays healthy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There you go, Scope. I'm not mad at it.
Lukey, can you bracket that up for us like you did last year with my
The
playoff
economics-
bracket that went all the way to the major semi, preliminary final? Skipper does his best work on the futures, boys. You can lock some of these. If there's some jam to be had, and we'll get to it in the next couple of shows, I'll tell you where the jam is in the brackets.
Love that. That is the YKTR Sports Show. Jump in the comments. Let us know. Has Scope torn you with his tears there? Or is he way off? Because the Warriors are a top 4 side, baby.
And do you hate cyclists?
And do you hate cyclists?
Respectfully.
Yeah.
Not when you're off the bike, just when you're on them and taking up half the road.
Rent's due.
YKTR
Any way you
Sports
can.
Show.
Make it
Another
happen.
week.